All right, so take a look at this. At first glance, it seems pretty straightforward, right? It's a gorgeous, classic painting of flowers in a vase. But if you lean in a little closer, you start to realize that the 17th century masterpiece is actually hiding a pretty incredible secret, a puzzle just waiting for us, hidden in plain sight.
And that brings us to the big question, the one we're really going to dig into here. How on earth can a painting from 1685 hold a puzzle that seems to challenge the seasons themselves? I mean, how could an artist who is famous for her realism create a bouquet that, well, just shouldn't exist? You see, this isn't just a painting anymore. It's a genuine mystery. And yeah, we're going to solve it together. So, here it is in all its glory. This is Flowers in a Vase, painted around 1685 by the Dutch artist Rachel Roush. And let me tell you, this thing is an absolute masterwork of its time, celebrated for its just breathtaking realism. And that realism? Well, that's exactly where our puzzle really kicks off.
And, the artist who created this was no slouch. Rachel Reich was, and I'm not exaggerating here, a total superstar in her day. She was one of the most successful painters of the entire Dutch Golden Age. Her whole reputation was built on this insane attention to detail and what everyone saw as almost scientific accuracy.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Roush had a kind of secret weapon. You see, her father was a famous botanist, and he was the keeper of Amsterdam's botanical garden. Think about that. It means she had this incredible first-hand access to a whole world of plants. We're talking everything from local flowers to brand new exotic imports. She knew these blooms and even the tiny little insects you can spot crawling on them, like ants and caterpillars, with this deep, almost scientific familiarity. And that knowledge, well, that's what makes the puzzle at the heart of this painting so darn compelling. All right, so we've established she was an expert, right? She knew her stuff. So now let's get right to the core of this mystery, the impossible bouquet. Because this stunningly realistic arrangement that she painted, well, the thing is, it could never have existed in real life. Not ever. And this really lays out the problem perfectly. In this one single vase, you've basically got a civil war between the seasons. Just look. On one side, you've got all these flowers of spring, peonies, hawthorn, honeysuckle, columbine, but then right there next to them are all the telltale signs of summer. You see the martagon lilies, the ripe wheat, even a seed pod and some dry, veiny leaves. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's completely botanically impossible.
Which brings us to the big question, right? Why? Why would a master of realism, someone who knew plants inside and out, create a bouquet that could never, ever exist in nature? It just doesn't add up. It's a complete contradiction, and that's what we need to figure out.
Okay, so before we can really answer the why, we first have to tackle the how. I mean, how in the world did she make this impossible thing look so real, so totally convincing? Let's dive into her hidden techniques and see how she pulled off this amazing illusion.
So, her genius, really the magic trick behind it all, comes down to three key things. It's about luminous light, a super strong diagonal composition, and this incredibly delicate, almost fleeting brushwork. Let's break each one down. First up, let's talk about the light. Just look at how it seems to sweep up from the darkness, catching all those pale flowers. It makes them seem like they're literally glowing, like they're drifting in the dark. It's not just about making things visible. It's a technique that makes the whole bouquet feel weightless, almost like something out of a dream. But here's the cool part. Despite that dreamy, weightless feeling, this painting is actually built like a rock. It's all held together by a really strong set of diagonal lines. If you look closely, you can almost trace them. They give the whole thing structure and depth. So while the flowers look like they could just float away, this hidden structure keeps everything perfectly anchored.
And finally, technique number 3, that delicate brushwork. Her brushstrokes just seem to skim the surface. They make the blooms, like that columbine way up top, feel so light and, well, ephemeral. It feels like they're barely there, like they could vanish at any moment. It's what makes them feel so alive. So the how is actually pretty clever. Roush and a lot of her contemporaries didn't just plop a bunch of flowers in a vase and start painting. No way. She worked from detailed sketches she made of each flower individually, right when it was in full bloom. Then she'd go back to her studio and compose this perfect, impossible bouquet, piece by piece, right there on the canvas. All right, so now we know how she did it. She built it from sketches. But honestly, that just makes the why even more interesting, doesn't it? Why go to all that trouble to create something so beautiful,
but so impossible. It's time to solve the final piece of this puzzle.
Well, there are a few possible explanations, and the truth is probably a little bit of everything. First, it could just be tradition. This is what flower painters did back then. Or it could be a matter of taste. Maybe these were her favorite flowers, or the client's. A third reason could be pure aesthetics. I mean, mixing seasons gives you way more interesting shapes, colors, and textures to play with. But that fourth reason, yeah, that's where things get really deep.
And this leads us to what I think is the most powerful explanation. This painting wasn't supposed to be a snapshot of a real vase on a real table. It's more of a concept. It's a celebration of all of nature's richness and diversity, from spring all the way through summer. It's like nature's greatest hits album, all playing at once in a single vase.
And this idea fits perfectly with how people thought back in the 17th century. A painting like this was so much more than just a pretty picture. It was something to really think about, a way to explore the wonders of both nature and science. And remember, in a deeply religious country, people saw those wonders as a gift from God. So this impossible bouquet, it's really a painting about the sheer awesomeness of creation.
So in the end, a painting that looks like a simple, beautiful bunch of flowers is actually this incredibly deep statement about time, nature, and even faith. It really just goes to show you sometimes the most beautiful things are hiding the most amazing stories. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? What hidden stories are waiting for you in the art you see every day?